What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another match review of the second game of the season as Spurs have won by 4-0 against Everton in a complete performance, I believe. I think that from minute one right until the end, we dominated throughout. Scoreline reflects that. Potentially could have even got more goals, top performances throughout. Although you've got to say, Everton were willing participants, weren't they?
Yeah, it was just what the doctor ordered. I think probably playing Everton at a good time. No Branthwaite. Tarkowski clearly wasn't fully fit. Playing a youngster right back as well. But to be fair, apart from that, they did have a fairly strong team out. I think it's the same midfield three they played in the first game. The front three, Calvert-Lewin, McNeil, Harrison, that was the front three we saw a lot last season. So it wasn't a completely makeshift team, but definitely in the back line, they were clearly struggling for quality. Doesn't help when, Pickford makes a mistake like he did for the second goal, and that completely throws the game plan out the window for them. But I thought Tottenham started with intent to, put Everton under pressure, ask different questions of their defence. We were banging crosses from set pieces, and we were swinging the ball in, and we were pressing them high. We were taking shots from range. We were trying to play through them as well. So what I really liked about our performance was, I think we've definitely been guilty in previous games of having one method of attack, which is like getting it to the winger, him getting to the byline and cutting it back. And I felt like in this game our attack was very varied, and I think that was down to the team selection.
Yeah, I agree. And we were looking at the team selection beforehand, and we were looking, wow, look at the attacking talent on the pitch. You had Kulusevski in the midfield. You had new signing Odobert out on the left-hand side, Sonny back up front. And then you had on the right wing, you had
Johnson.
Yeah, Brennan Johnson as well. So I felt like Ange picked the team to go and really be ruthless. And, you look at the Leicester game last week and, we dominated for large parts of that game. We just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. But I think we put that behind us and we were really clinical yesterday.
Yeah, and I actually love that selection from Ange. It was brave. It was really offensive. He knew that we were going to have a lot of the ball and we were going to dominate. So he thought, this is something we've been calling for, for a while. But add that extra attacking midfielder in there and someone like a Decky, which I think we predicted Decky to play next to Maddison in the opening game. It didn't happen. And I think we actually suffered for it, because I think if we would have had that extra bit of quality like Decky in the team, I reckon we probably made even more chances and we probably would have won that game a bit more comfortably. So having that extra quality made a lot of difference. And it didn't. I know we did concede maybe a couple of chances. There was one from Harrison and one from Lindstrom in the second half. That was pretty much it from them in terms of real clear-cut opportunities. So it didn't really hurt us defensively. And a team like Everton aren't going to come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to really throw caution to the wind. They're not going to open up. They're going to be resolute. Yes, they will probably pick their moments to press and they'll probably try and catch you on the counter. But by and large, we had 75% of the ball. So when we can have that much of the ball, it's just going to be a case of how can we break them down, asking different questions of that. And I think the selection was a brilliant move from Ange to throw Decky on there. Interesting putting Son up front as well, because I thought, Son up front in this kind of game, would he struggle to impact the game? But I thought, I actually thought on the ball, he didn't, when he was up front, he didn't impact it that much, but where he impacted it was off the ball with his pressing and just not allowing Everton's defence a moment's rest. And obviously it forced the goal, which he scored. But I think more than that, he was just causing panic, forcing them to go long. And what it meant was we would get to recycle the ball time and time again and just continuing to put them under pressure. So it was also a clever move from Ange to put Son back up front.
You know what it is with Sonny? How many times have we seen it? Year after year after year, fans write him off and he comes back and he puts in a performance like that. 2 goals on the day. I think he's getting all the records as well in terms of being up there with goals of Haaland and Salah for goals in the last 3 or 4 years. I think the man is a phenomenon. He's absolutely brilliant. And I thought after what wasn't such a great display against Leicester, he's responded to the critics and he's bang at it again. And I felt he was doing a really good job dropping deep into the midfield and really trying to keep the pressure overloaded on Everton throughout the game. And yeah, it was a really good performance for him. I want to talk about Yves Bissouma, because a lot has been mentioned about Yves, Balloon Gate and all this kind of stuff, not the right mentality. A lot of people are saying, potentially me, I've been saying that, I wouldn't mind if he was sold towards the back end of the season. Up until now, I've been saying that. But after everything that was going on, this is the perfect way for him to respond. I thought he was brilliant throughout the day, got the goal as well to set us off, and what an unbelievable finish that was, from just outside the area, bangs it in, rifles it in just under the crossbar, kisses the underside of the crossbar. Pickford has absolutely no chance with it. And it wasn't just the goal though. I thought he was just brilliant throughout, dictating the tempo. His spreads of play were absolutely brilliant. How many times did we see him spray it out to Odobert on that left-hand side? Down to a T. I thought it was pinpoint every single time, and he just kept the ball moving. Not just his sprays of pass, but he kept moving with nice little short passes as well to get us up the pitch. So I thought in every facet, Yves Bissouma did what he had to do yesterday really well.
Yeah, I think he kind of started the game like he had the point to prove, didn't he? He was pretty much like the Bissouma that we saw the earlier parts of last season, really confident on the ball, looking to spray the ball forward. And what I really like about it is, yes, he was quite disciplined with his positioning and make sure that the midfield three of Everton weren't dominating and they weren't having too much impact, which is really important. Like Doucouré in these kind of games is usually like his forte, in these kind of games where he can burst forward on the ball, he can dribble past the play, he can make late runs in the box, but he was absolutely anonymous. And I think a lot was that to do with how Yves Bissouma was disciplined in his positioning. But what I really like about him is his willingness to get involved in the final third, get forward a bit, combine in those kind of scenarios, because I feel like when Bissouma, isn't as confident, he hangs back a bit too much. And he doesn't, he's got the ability to make a difference in that area of the pitch. He's got good dribbling ability. And, for Brighton, he did score the odd banger. I know he wasn't a massive goal scorer, but if you look at some of the goals he did score, a lot of them were outside the box, really good strikes. I remember there was, I know he hasn't scored for Tottenham. I remember on his debut, came on against, I think it was Southampton, and he laid one off from 30 yards and just kissed the post. And I was like, okay, maybe he's going to start doing that a bit more for Spurs. It never really happened.
It's only taken 2 years.
But what a brilliant goal, and it shows he's got the capabilities of that kind of strike in him. It was an unbelievable goal, and it was a brilliant way to respond to what his actions are. Obviously, Ange said, it's a bit like when you discipline your son, and then for the next 2 days he does everything right. But it's about can he do it consistently? It's not
Absolutely.
about just the first few days. It's about how he conducts himself, moving forward. And yes, this is a very good start. And you saw how he went over to Ange and he did that apology to the crowd as well. So clearly it's been effective. He's clearly taken things on board. But it's still a process about long-term trust. This is what he did isn't just going to be resolved with one goal. So yes, I'm delighted for him. Yes, I hopefully this can be a turning point for him, but you can't say all is forgiven just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good start. Let's hope he can carry on in this kind of vein of form moving forward. But it does bring a selection headache moving forward, because Bentancur was brilliant first game of the season. You got Bissouma, who's responded with a probably even better performance than Rodrigo did first game. So what do we do moving forward against the Newcastles and the Arsenals?
I think in a weird way, Newcastle might give him an excuse to just put Bentancur and Bissouma together, because we probably might need that.
Bentancur in the 8.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, look, if Ange goes with Decky, Maddison and Bissouma again against Newcastle, I mean, look, it could work. I mean, if you cast your mind back to, obviously, this isn't a preview for the Newcastle game, but if you cast your mind back to last season when we lost 4-0, it wasn't like they were dominating us. We actually had, again, similar to the Everton game, we had 75% of the ball. We just couldn't break them down. And obviously they countered us massively. So could we, just throw a Decky in there, and if we're going to have 75% of the ball again, maybe it'll be a bit of a difference. So, it's obviously selection headaches for Ange, but it's good selection headaches because it means a lot of players are playing well. It's not just that. If he also decides to go with Bissouma and Bentancur, what does he do with Decky? Because he was brilliant, I thought. And also, let's talk about Decky's role in the goal, because I don't think that gets talked about enough. It's a brilliant goal from Bissouma, but I think what Decky did is almost just as impressive. The way he weaved in a few players in tight spaces, and that's what I love about Decky in those situations, because he's really physical. He can hold defenders off and midfielders off in that kind of situation. He can wriggle through a few players, and then he had to have the presence of mind to lay it off for Bissouma. And he showed his physicality, and he showed his quick feet, which we know he does have, and played a crucial role in that goal.
That's it. And this guy is probably the most informed Spurs player at the moment on the roster. You look back to pre-season, he was our chief creator and he was getting the majority of goal contributions throughout pre-season. I think it was 6 in 6 games, I think it was. First game of the season against Leicester, he comes on and managed to, swing the momentum back in our favour, I thought, with his good play. And then he gets his start against Everton, and I thought he was brilliant once again. And what an unbelievable assist it was. It really was. Everton just didn't know how to deal with him, didn't know how to get the ball off him, shrugs everyone off as he's moving with that physicality that he has in the box, and the trickery that he has with his feet, and Bissouma obviously did the rest. So I'm loving Decky at the moment. I was one of Decky's harshest critics probably last season with him being out on the right, but I'm loving him in these central positions. And that's what I was calling for all season last year. I was like, get him in the central positions. That's where he's going to cause the most havoc for Spurs. I just don't think he's a winger in this system, and I think that's showing now.
Definitely, and I thought he was really unlucky to be taken off on the 67th minute because I thought he was playing so well, really influencing the game. And him next to Maddison was a joy to behold. They were linking up beautifully when they were it just added another dimension to that attacking play that we had. And I just feel like with Sarr in there, yes, he offers a lot of running, a lot of legs. And he can chip in with the odd goal here and there, but he just doesn't. He wouldn't been able to do what Decky was capable of yesterday on the ball, and that I think in these kind of games, where last season we had some difficulty breaking down low blocks. I think we were saying at the beginning of the season, I really want to see us really go for it. And when you see like teams like Man City against these kind of teams, like yesterday, Man City against Ipswich at home played a back three and just played a really attacking lineup because they know they had the quality. And I want to see us do more. I felt like last season. Ange could we talk about brave on the ball and brave football, but sometimes he could have been brave with his team selection. I think we said that, and I think maybe we're starting to see a bit bravery here with him.
Yeah, absolutely. But back on Kulusevski for a second, I feel like we were talking before the game, who's going to start up front? Is it going to be Decky? Is it going to be Richarlison? We didn't take into account Sonny could also play up front. He did name Sonny as the number 9, but Kulusevski was the actual one. If you look at the average positions, like the one furthest forward for the most part of the game, Sonny was dropping deep a lot. So, Kulusevski was naturally in the number 8, but he was the one furthest forward and giving the opposition trouble more times than not.
It was almost. It wasn't actually a number 8. It wasn't 2 number 8s. It was 2 number 10s, wasn't it? With Decky and Maddison.
Wilson Odobert made his debut yesterday, which I thought he was very bright, particularly in the first half. He was getting on the ball a lot, looking to take on his fullback. He didn't do too many successful crosses or key passes or anything like that. But what he did do was kept giving the opposition something to think about. And I felt like maybe it wasn't the best performance, but I think for a first game, I was really impressed with what he can potentially bring to this team.
I think it was there for all to see what he's going to offer in this team, which is someone who's going to continually, relentlessly take on their fullback and always be an option. How many times we sprayed out to him and he's just always available, willing to take on his man. And when he's got ground in front of him, it's not, cast your mind back to the Leicester game. People are talking about that moment where Brennan gets past the player and he's got all this space in front of him and he doesn't go for it. He cuts himself back even though there's all that space. Didn't back himself. Odobert, every time he got the ball, forward. And the only time he went back is if he had a run and then he kind of tried to take on his man, didn't quite work, then he would check back. But always, whenever he was isolated one-on-one as defender, he looked to take him on. I think the stat was he had 6 or 7 attempted dribbles, which was the most out of anyone on the pitch. Yeah, and that was
six dribbles, 2 successful.
And that was actually one of the big things I was saying about in terms of a winger that we have, in terms of the dribbling ability. Like what I was saying about Son in that position. At the age he is, yes, he can still take on his man, but he can't do it relentlessly. He can't just do it time and time and time again. Just whenever he get the ball, just continue to take on his man and ask questions every time and tire them out. Essentially, I got that word wrong. Literally every time Odobert got the ball, what's his name? The right back. I can't remember his name. Quintine, is it? That wasn't his name, was it? Anyway, the young right back for Everton. Every time he got the ball, he was asking him a different question. Cutting inside, going down the left side. And
which he actually dealt with him quite well, that right
He
back.
did, but what it did was it dragged players out of the position. A lot of the times they had to double up on him. It created a space in the centre, and it just gave Everton something that every time they knew the ball, they knew they had to deal with him. It was like sometimes with Brendan, he gets the ball, and the defence don't even worry because they know he's probably just going to pass it back, or he'll try to get to the byline, you could block the cross. But with Odobert, you didn't know what way he's going to go. He moves his defenders around, and that's what I love about him.
Something that we haven't seen for a very long time at Tottenham.
Yeah, he jinxes in, he jinks out. So he makes the defender move, and he makes the defender actually think about what Odobert is going to do. With Brennan, you know he's just going to go down the line. So they always kind of position themselves to deal with it.
It's not even just Brennan, like all our wingers, pretty much. Maybe bar Sonny. But you look at Kulusevski, you knew what he was going to do. You knew he was going to cut in back on his left. You knew what Brennan's going to do. He's going to go down the line. Like, Odobert has just so many tools up his sleeve. And I know, like yesterday, he didn't provide much in terms of service. But you can see, definitely, he's going to be a major asset to this team.
Yeah, he definitely needs to work on his final ball. That's still clearly a bit raw, I think. Although there was one moment on the second half, he linked up well with Maddison. He put a really good ball across the face of goal, and unfortunately, no one really was able to take advantage of it. But his final ball definitely needs work, and he's 19. That'll come. Obviously, you saw the quality on occasion he had for Burnley, so he clearly has ability to do that. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see it. It was interesting he started on the left because, you know, when we signed him, a lot of people thought a majority of the time is still going to come from the right-hand side.
That is his natural position, though.
But what's interesting, you know, he comes in and immediately goes on the left, right? What does that say for Werner? You know what I mean?
I think it says what we all, you know, were expecting for Timo Werner. Timo Werner is a backup at best. That's what he is at this football club.
People have been complaining about us, complaining about the signing of Werner. And then Ange signs a winger who, there's a spot on the right to compete with Brennan. Yet he puts him, as soon as he puts him in, he puts him straight on the left.
He's
where
a natural
Werner
left player, though. He's
that's
a natural left-sided player.
I'm saying we've loaned Werner for a year, and he's best positioned for us in any ways on the left wing. And the first opportunity for Werner to get a start, he's put Odobert there.
But Werner has been brought here. I don't think even he's under any illusions. I don't think Ange is under any illusions. Werner has been brought here as a pure backup player. Odobert has been brought in here to challenge. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, but you sign him on a year-long loan because you want him to be useful, and you would think when there's an opportunity. I'm not saying Ange was wrong or anything. I think it's a good decision that Odobert played, but I'm just saying it's interesting that the first opportunity where that left wing spot comes open because Solly's moved to the middle, he puts Odobert there, not Werner, and I think that says a lot about Werner's position squad, unless we're looking at Werner now as backup to Johnson, because he did play on the right against Leicester, didn't he, when he came on? So
I hope not.
Unless that's the plan, we play Johnson and Werner as right wingers and Son and Odobert as left wingers.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Werner is going to be back up to the backup. Like, let's say Sonny's our left winger, and we've got Brennan on the right, and then Brennan gets injured. I think Odobert will go, and if Son gets injured, I think Odobert will go on the left. I think Werner will be down the pecking order on both wings. That's what I think.
Yeah, it could well be. I mean, yeah, it could well be.
Centre backs as well put in an unbelievable display. I think both of them were absolutely immaculate. Cuti Ribeiro, after all the flack that he's taken after last week, he responds, puts in a performance like that. I mean, on another day, he could be ending the game with 2 goals and an assist. Literally.
He was astonishing. I think he played 2 passes over the top to Maddison, right on a plate. Unbelievable. Good runs from Maddison, who also had a good game, by the way. But right on a plate from Cuti. And if it wasn't for a bit of a dodgy touch from Maddison on both occasions, could have easily had at least a goal out of those situations. I thought his passing out the back was absolutely immaculate, especially with those 2 passes. And it wasn't just that. Obviously, he did get his goal with a header, towering header over Tarkowski, who, when you're probably looking at Tarkowski Romero, you probably would say Tarkowski would probably aerially might have the better of it, but Romero absolutely dominated him for that goal, and I thought he was absolutely astounding. And I thought Mickey was actually a lot better than he was against Leicester as well. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but I thought he was a lot more like, he wasn't just like passively involved in the play. He was
a lot more proactive. Like Mickey van der Ven.
Yeah, but he was proactive. He was getting involved in challenges. Obviously, that run for the 4th goal was absolutely astonishing. Sonny-esque against Burnley, except he didn't shoot. He laid it off. But that goal, I don't think what centre back in the league can do that apart from Mickey van der Ven.
Jan Vertonghen.
Yeah, maybe Jan Vertonghen's got a case for it. I don't see any centre back in the Premier League at the moment being able to do what Mickey van der Ven did there. Just because of the sheer pace.
That assist was something like locked. You could already give that assist of the season, 100%. Like he ran the length of the pitch, bro. Like
he picked up literally the edge of our box. Yeah, it was exactly the same as Sonny against Burnley.
It was mad.
It was mad. Like, I think literally just for, and also it was quite late on, so to have the legs to do that at that point as well, really impressive. And just from a sheer pace point of view, like no one could catch him. And this was what I'll say. We were watching it. with my sister's future fiance, who was going to get married on Wednesday, and I was saying to him, when Van de Ven gets into full speed, that's it. It's over. Like nothing. Like whether it's defensively or going forward, as soon as he gets into full speed, it's absolutely
the
over.
only way to stop him is fouling him. That's the only way.
It's mad, and especially when the ball goes to the top. If you can see Van de Ven makes a calculation whether to go for it. If as soon as he says I'm going for this one, that's it. You might as well stop running because
he needs to be going for
it's
more.
over. That's
he needs to be going for more. But look, I think astonishing display by both centre backs. I think the only real down point of yesterday's performance was Brennan Johnson. I thought he put in another poor display, backing up from the poor display that he had against Leicester first game this season, backing on from the poor performances that he's had against Bayern Munich in both games. What do we do with Brennan now? Because he's coming under a lot of criticism from certain people in the fan base. He's not performing well. We've got a new signing in Odobert who could potentially play on the right-hand side. And let's say Dom Solanke is fit for the Newcastle game next weekend, for argument's sake. Do you keep Brennan in the team, or do you put Odobert on the right and Sonny on the left?
Yeah, I'll drop him. I'm not. This isn't like a harsh decision. Oh, that's it. He's dropped it. He's never going to get a look in ever again.
It's a long season.
I mean, exactly. A lot of games, and also he's a brilliant super sub to have. You showed that last season when he came off the bench, or how effective he can be. I just felt like, you could, on the face of it, you could probably argue Johnson and Odobert had similar games in terms of what they provided for the team. But I think I think that's just a surface level thinking. I think if you look at the actual impact that each player had on the team, Odobert keeps the defenders guessing. When Brennan got it, all he did was go down the line and his cross got blocked every time. They knew how to deal with him. He couldn't get past Mikalenko at all. And what he doesn't do, which Odobert was doing, is his link-up play. Odobert's link-up play was a lot more effective. He was getting closer to his teammates, passing and moving, that kind of stuff. The only time you ever see real Brennan link-up is when he passes inside and looks for the 1-2 down the line so he can get it, so he can cross it again. And obviously that can work sometimes, but it can be a bit predictable. And I thought he was really predictable against Everton.
I think it tells you everything you need to know. The stat, he only attempted one dribble throughout the whole game. And he was on for 90 minutes yesterday, and Odobert was on for 70 minutes, and he attempted 6. And I know only 2 were successful, but if you're a winger in this system, this is what you need to attempt time and time again. You need to keep testing your fullback. And he doesn't do that enough.
And he doesn't keep him guessing. He doesn't keep. And this is what I was saying about Odobert. Yes, again, as I've said, it wasn't like his most effective game. But when he gets the ball, you're not sure where he's going to go. And when he goes down the line, you have to shift with him because he's got the capability of doing that. And then because their body weight is shifted down the line, he can then cut inside and create space. And because he's a bit more flexible and he has a bit more variation to his dribbling, it keeps the defender guessing and it asks questions and it causes a bit of chaos. When Brennan gets the ball, yes, because he's quick, he can be a danger, but you know what he's going to do. He's quite predictable when he gets the ball. Occasionally, he'll chop inside, but he'll never chop inside on his left foot. He'll chop inside and maybe pass it inside. Yeah. He'll never chop inside and get a shot off or anything like that, maybe like Odobert might do. So he doesn't have enough variation to his game, and that's something he's definitely going to have to add if he's going to be a top winger, especially in this system. I still think he can, and I think we know, he can definitely be an effective winger in the system in terms of getting assists and goals, especially from the back post. He can do that, but in terms of being a top winger with like a lot of variation and like someone who can really develop his game, like he's just got to add a bit more variation to when he gets on the ball and be a bit more of a threat rather than just being, how predictable he is.
He just ghosts out of games sometimes, and this was a major criticism I had from him last season. I remember having a few debates with you midway through last season where he's getting the numbers, but he's just ghosting through games and not really impacting the game enough. And I feel like he's going through another one of these moments at the moment where he's not even getting the contributions, never mind kind of applying himself and impacting games. So hopefully he can improve. Hopefully, Ange does put him on the bench and he can provide something off the bench, because he's done that so many times where he's come on late in games and he's given the opposition something extra to think about, because Brennan, fresh legs Brennan, with the speed that he has, it is a frightening thought with him running at you in the last stage of the game with tired legs.
And we saw Odobert in training go playing on the right. He looked quite good. So I want to see him given a run out. Yes, it's going to be Newcastle. It's going to be a difficult game. But I think that's probably what's called for in this occasion. And again, just because we're dropping Brennan doesn't mean he's never getting back on the team or whatever.
And it doesn't mean Ange is going to do it either.
Yeah, it doesn't mean he's going to do it either, yeah.
So, yeah, look, 4-0, resounding victory, really good performance as well, with most of the players on the pitch putting in astonishing performances. But you got to say that, with 4 points after the first 2 games, Leicester and Everton, it should be 6 with the amount of domination that we have had over the course of those 2 games. Much, much bigger tests yet to come now, with Newcastle away and Arsenal at home being our next 2 games. I still think we need to show a lot of improvement to get the results in those games too.
Definitely, we'll see how Newcastle get on later. Obviously, Arsenal, I have to say, yes, they won, but they definitely showed some vulnerabilities in that game. That was, I know they won 2-0, but I was quite encouraged in terms of them.
And
coming
Newcastle
to us
did first
that.
game of the season as well.
So we'll see. But look, let's be honest. If we can win one of those 2 games, that probably makes up for the Leicester result. You would argue.
Look, if we can beat Arsenal at Tottenham, then that will make up for...
That makes up for a lot. But I'm saying, if we go to St James's Park and get a win, then you can probably cancel out that Leicester result and say it makes up for it. I'm just not holding
my breath. Looking at the last 2 performances at St James's Park, we've got it absolutely handed to us both games.
I'm not saying we're going to win.
We conceded 8 goals over the last 2 games at Newcastle?
More. 10 goals last 2 games. I'm not saying it's going to be easy or we're definitely going to win or anything like that. I'm just saying if we can get a win, the team should see it as an opportunity to just put that Leicester result right. And I think that's a good way to do it.
Let's hope so, guys. But we move on to Newcastle away next weekend. Let me know your thoughts of the game in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.